Westfield, New Jersey. In 2014, it was ranked as one of the safest and most desirable towns in the entire United States. It was the kind of place where people didn't lock their doors, where children rode their bikes until the street lights came on. ... and where everyone knew their neighbor's name. For Derek and Maria Broaddus, it was the definition of making it. Together with their 3 young children, they had just bought their dream home here, 657 Boulevard. It was a historic, sprawling mansion, and they had paid nearly $1.4 million for it. They were young, they were successful, and they were ready to start the happiest chapter of their lives, but they never got to move in, because the moment they closed on the house, before a single box of furniture arrived, they realized that they hadn't just bought a home. They had stepped into a territory already claimed. Someone was already inside 657 Boulevard, if not physically, then psychologically. Within days of receiving the keys, the first message arrived. And it quickly became clear that the dream was actually a carefully constructed nightmare. Welcome back to the channel. Let's look at the chilling case of the Watcher. June 2014, Derek Broaddus had spent the day painting. The house was empty and echoing. Tiring of the work, he walked out to the mailbox on the porch and found that single white envelope. He expected a bill or a welcome note from a neighbor. Instead, he pulled out a letter that read more like a manifesto. It began normally, welcoming them to the neighborhood, but it quickly took a dark, possessive turn. The typed words read, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." The letter continued, "How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within?" As Derek read, the air seemed to leave the massive house. This wasn't a prank. The writer claimed to be the 3rd generation in their family tasked with watching the property, stating their grandfather watched in the 1920s and their father in the 1960s. "It is now my time," the letter said. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? The Watcher then began to mention specific details. They noted that the contractors renovating the house were being watched. Then they got personal. They began to ask about Derek's children. "I have seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. It is now the blood of the future. 657 Boulevard will be mine." The letter was signed, simply, The Watcher. Derek called the Westfield police. The officers were initially baffled, advising him not to post about it on social media and to install alarm systems. They suspected a disgruntled neighbor, perhaps someone angry they had been outbid on the house. But the Broadduses were terrified. They halted the renovations. They refused to bring their children to the property. Their dream had become a cage. What was supposed to be a happy summer became a military operation. They hired private investigators, including former FBI agents. They installed cameras everywhere. Derek spent nights patrolling the perimeter, flashlight in hand, staring into the darkness, wondering which of the 100 windows facing his home contained the Watcher. 2 weeks later, another envelope arrived. And this one proved that the Watcher was close, very, very close. The second letter showed that the Watcher had been reading their mail and listening to their conversations. They mocked Derek for installing security. "I see you are flooding the house with contractors... They are doing a great job on the floors and bathrooms. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will." Then came the truly horrifying part. The Watcher knew the birth order of the children. They knew their nicknames. The letter asked, "I am pleased to know your names now and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. Will they play in the attic? It is hard to know what is in each room. It will be very hard to make a mistake." This broke Maria. She couldn't set foot in the house anymore. 657 Boulevard, in all its beauty, was now a symbol of pure terror. What was once a dream had become a living nightmare, watched by unseen eyes. Who was the watcher? The investigation focused on the neighborhood. The letters were sent from a nearby processing facility. The tone suggested an older person, someone obsessed with the house's history and lineage. Suspicions first fell on Michael Langford, who lived right next door. His house had a direct line of sight into the back of 657 Boulevard. He was known to be eccentric, and his family had lived there for decades. Police brought him in for questioning, but they found nothing. But a new clue emerged. The Broadduses sent the envelopes to a DNA lab. The lab found traces of DNA on the flap from the saliva used to seal the envelope, and that DNA belonged to a female. This changed everything. Was it a wife? A sister? A grandmother? Police tested samples from Langford's sister, but it was not a match. Realizing they could never safely live in the house, the Broadduses tried to sell it. They put it on the market for $1.35 million. Because of the stigma, no one wanted it. A lawsuit against the previous owners claiming they received a similar note was also dismissed. Eventually, the Broadduses sold the house in 2019 for just $959,000, losing nearly $400,000. They were just happy to have their lives back. Today, 657 Boulevard stands silent. The case remains officially unsolved. Was it a prank? An extortion attempt? Or something truly maddeningly obsessive? Some believe Derek Broaddus wrote the letters himself, perhaps to get out of the high property taxes or a purchase he regretted. But police DNA evidence contradicts this theory. The scariest conclusion is that the watcher is still out there, in that cozy town of Westfield, perhaps watching this video, perhaps writing a new letter. It is a cautionary tale that the perfect dream house is just a thin veil away from being the scene of your worst nightmare. What do you think? Did the neighbor do it? Or was it a complex scam? Leave your theories in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and look out for what's in the mail.